Hello and welcome to Lost Love Chronicles.
Dear listeners, before we get started, drop a quick hi in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. Also, if you have any suggestions for us to make the channel better, please let us know. Now let's start with the story. Have you ever had one of those moments where the insult is so blatant, it's almost impressive? That was me standing in my workshop, covered in pipe grime, holding my phone while my mother informed me I wouldn't be invited to Christmas this year. No fight, no warning, just a casual, "We think it's best if you sit this one out." At first, I thought she was talking about a date change. Like, Christmas is on Tuesday instead of Sunday. Maybe you missed the memo. But no, she meant exactly what she said. I was being deliberately excluded. Her reasoning? It's about keeping things comfortable for everyone. Let me rewind. I'm 32, single, and I run a plumbing business in Glen Eyre. Not exactly glamorous, sure, but it's a successful, honest business. I've built a solid reputation, manage a good crew, and genuinely enjoy solving problems with my hands, even when those problems involve sewage. Now, my younger sister Maya, she's 26, in law school, and guess who's been footing the bill for that shiny legal education? Yep, me, her older brother, the embarrassing one with calloused hands and a wrench in his back pocket. And here's where it really stings, the reason I got disinvited. I didn't hear it from my mom, of course. I found out through my cousin Adrian, bless her chaotic soul, who told me Maya had convinced our parents I shouldn't be there. Why? Because her boyfriend, Dr. Connor Rothschild, yes, that's his real name, might not take well to having a plumber at Christmas dinner. Apparently, Maya was afraid his upscale family might get the wrong impression. "Oh, your brother works with toilets? How quaint." To save face, she erased me from the guest list. The same sister I've sent over $60,000 for. The same one who never once invited me to her campus events or introduced me to Connor, even after a year of dating. She always brushed off questions about me with a vague, "Oh, he owns a business." Never, "He owns a plumbing company, and he's thriving." Because the truth is, she was ashamed. Not ashamed enough to turn down my money, though. Just ashamed enough to hide me from her life. And my parents? They didn't object. No one said, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't cut out the guy who's paying for your degree." They just nodded and said, "You know how professional circles can be, Ronan. Maybe next year when your career is more developed." More developed? I own a company, run 3 vans, employ 6 people, and have a wait list booked out for weeks. But apparently, that's still not enough to earn a seat at the table. Something inside me changed that day. I didn't argue. I didn't lash out. Just a calm, cold realization settled in. This wasn't an isolated incident. It was a pattern. Maya was ashamed of me, but not of my money. And if I wasn't good enough for her Christmas dinner, then my money wasn't good enough for her tuition. Let's see how polished Curtis handles this reality. There's a certain kind of anger that doesn't involve yelling. It doesn't explode, it cuts. Clean, deliberate, focused. That's where I was. No pacing, no shouting, just calculating. That night, I went home, poured a whiskey, and pulled up every single record. Tuition receipts, laptop reimbursements, bank transfers, every penny I'd given Maya since she started law school. If you've ever wanted to feel incredibly generous and completely used at the same time, try tallying up 3 years of someone else's dreams. $64,500. That's what it came to. And that's not even counting the brand new MacBook I got her last year, or the early payment for her bar prep course, even though she still had a full year left. I never hesitated, because that's what family does, right? But then I scrolled back through our messages, and suddenly it all clicked. Every single text from Maya was about money. Not a single birthday wish. No, "How's the business going?" Just, "Can you cover this class fee? I need to order this textbook. Can you transfer by Thursday?" But when it came to acknowledging me in her professional world, total silence. No invites to school mixers. No drinks. No thank you dinners. Nothing. I was just a silent sponsor. Her invisible ATM in work boots. Cousin Adrian, bless her again, sent me screenshots from the family group chat. Turns out this wasn't some snap decision. Maya had been planning my erasure for weeks. She told our parents it would reflect poorly on her if Connor's family thought we weren't highly educated. Apparently, my plumbing business didn't meet the standards of her new social status. That was the line that did it. I just don't want Connor's family thinking we're unpolished. Unpolished. Meanwhile, I'd spent the last 5 years polishing the road for her success, paying her way so she could focus on law school without working a single shift. That's when everything came into focus. I wasn't going to rant. I wasn't going to fire off some caps-locked email. I was going to let the silence speak for me. Her next tuition payment, $21,500 for the spring semester, was due in 2 weeks. She hadn't brought it up yet, but I knew the rhythm by now. Around this time, she usually got extra chatty, dropped hints, laid on the guilt. But this time, nothing. I guess she assumed the money would just keep flowing. even after she slammed the door in my face. What she forgot was that I still had access to her tuition portal. She gave me the login back in her first semester, back when I was the best big brother ever. So I logged in, checked the balance. Still unpaid. I just sat there for a while, not angry, calm, detached. And I thought, let's see how professional your boyfriend thinks you are when your card gets declined at the registrar's office. But first, I wanted her to hear it from me. I didn't text. I called. No heads up. She picked up on the third ring, already irritated. Ronan, what's up? I'm in the middle of something. Of course she was. Hey, I said casually, just checking in about your tuition payment. That deadline's coming up, right? Suddenly, she switched tones, all warmth and sugar. Oh yeah, thanks for remembering. It's due on the 15th. You're still good to cover it, right? She asked. I paused. Actually, I said, I've been thinking about what you told Mom and Dad at Christmas about how having a plumber at the table might embarrass you. Silence. Like her brain hit a wall and didn't know which way to turn. Wait, who told you that? Does it matter? I said. Is it true? Another pause. Then the scramble began. You don't get it. Connor's family they're just very particular. His dad's a judge. His mom's on charity boards. It's not personal. Not personal? I cut in. You uninvited me to Christmas because I fix pipes for a living. I've paid over $60,000 toward your law degree, but that's not polished enough to sit beside your boyfriend? You promised to support me. She snapped, tone shifting hard. You said you believed in my future. Yeah, I said, back when you were proud to call me your brother. And then I laid it down. If I'm too embarrassing for your table, Maya, then my money's too embarrassing for your tuition. Click. She didn't call back right away. I think she was in shock. The wait, the ATM just talked back? Kind of shock. But the silence didn't last. By that evening, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree, ironic, since I wasn't invited to that particular holiday. First came Mom. 5 missed calls, 2 voicemails, and a long text that began with, "Honey, this is all a misunderstanding," and ended with, "Please don't do this to your sister." Because apparently, I was the one doing something to her. I finally picked up on the 6th call. She didn't even say hello, just launched in, full tears, full theatrics. You're tearing this family apart over one comment. She didn't mean it that way. Didn't mean it? I said, calm but sharp. She told you I shouldn't come to Christmas because she didn't want her boyfriend's family to know her brother is a plumber. That's not a misunderstanding, Mom. That's a mission statement. She was trying to impress them, Mom sobbed. She's under a lot of pressure. Oh, so now I'm a liability? She sniffled, then pivoted. She looks up to you, Ronan. She does. I laughed. Yeah? She's so inspired by me, she tried to erase me. And then came the classic line. You promised to support your sister through school. Are you really going to let one little fight ruin everything? One little fight? I said. She banned me from Christmas because of my job, the same job that's been bankrolling her degree. What would you have said if I told the family I was ashamed of her and cut her out? Silence. Then more tears. When guilt didn't work, she passed the baton to Dad. He didn't bother with soft tactics. You're being selfish, he barked the second I answered. You're ruining your sister's future out of spite. Ah yes, parental gaslighting. Classic move. Let me get this straight, I said. She cuts me out of Christmas, trashes my career, hides me from her boyfriend, and I'm the selfish one for not wanting to keep funding that? We raised you to be better than this. That one almost got me. Almost. You raised me to value family, I said. But apparently, that only applies until the family decides I'm the embarrassment. Then came the real dagger. Sometimes we make sacrifices for the good of the family. That's when it hit me. This had nothing to do with love, respect, or values. It was about optics. They were betting on Connor's family being their golden ticket internships, prestige, connections. And me? I was the scratch on their winning lottery ticket. So they erased me to keep the shine. I didn't yell. I didn't try to explain. I just said, you made your choice when you let her erase me. This is me making mine. And I hung up. But of course, it didn't end there. Texts started rolling and accusing me of being vindictive. Uncle Brandon emailed a long-winded sermon about forgiveness. Even Adrian, the cousin who originally spilled the truth, chimed in with, maybe you're taking this too far. She's still your sister. But here's the thing. Not one of them offered to help pay. Not one said, we'll cover her tuition if you can't. Everyone had an opinion about my wallet, but no one reached for their own. That's when it all crystallized. They didn't want me in the family, they just wanted me to fund it. So I turned off my phone, poured a drink, and sat in the quietest peace I'd felt in years. I figured the storm would pass in a few days. Maybe they'd come crawling back with half-hearted apologies. Or maybe they'd just go quiet and hope guilt would wear me down. What I didn't expect was for everything to unravel so fast. According to Adrian, now my unofficial family informant, Maya told Curtis about the tuition. Of course, she left out the part where she banned me from Christmas. Instead, she spun it like I'd suddenly snapped. like I was having some emotional meltdown and decided to pull support for no reason. But Curtis is not an idiot. Once he learned I'd paid for nearly her entire education quietly, without fanfare, he started asking questions. Why haven't I met your brother? Why isn't he in any family photos? Why doesn't he come to your events? Maya tried to cover. We're not that close. He lives far away. He's always busy. But the cracks showed. Especially when he asked how she was affording law school with no job. That's when she finally admitted it. My brother's been paying. And then came the golden follow-up. What does he do? She froze. Eventually muttered. He runs a business. Curtis, what kind of business? And finally, like it physically hurt to say it, she whispered. Plumbing. Curtis blinked. Like with pipes? That's when it clicked. His uncle Mike, the one who built their family lake house, had started as a plumber. Curtis used to help him in the summers. Dirty boots, crawl spaces, sweat the whole deal. So when Maya confessed she'd pushed me away because she thought his family wouldn't approve of a plumber sibling, his reaction? He stood up, said, wow, and walked out. No yelling. No fight. Just, I need some space. And for Maya, space is the one thing she's never known how to handle. She panicked. Started blowing up my phone with messages from burner apps, alternate numbers, anything she could get her hands on. Please, Ronan, don't do this. He's everything to me. You're twisting everything. I'll make it right. Just please, don't ruin this. But it was already too late. The truth was, I hadn't ruined anything. I'd simply stepped aside and let reality speak for itself. The next day, Curtis officially broke up with her. According to Adrian, it wasn't some emotional blowout, just calm, direct, and cold. He told her he couldn't be with someone who would disrespect their own family, especially the person who had quietly financed their future just to impress his. It makes me question your character, he said. And I don't want to build a life with someone who hides the people who supported them. Maya didn't take it well. No surprise there. She showed up at our parents' house sobbing, blaming me for everything: the breakup, the tuition, the emotional fallout. I was, apparently, the villain of her unraveling. True to form, my parents reached out again. More guilt. More desperate pleas to make things right. But here's the part they still didn't get. I hadn't burned a bridge. They had. All I did was strike a match and walk away from the ashes. About a week later, the next flare-up hit. A simple text from Adrian. 911. Maya's headed to your shop. She posted about it on Facebook. She's unhinged. Now, normally I take cousin gossip with a grain of salt, but Adrian? He's never been wrong. I barely had time to give my crew a heads up before she came crashing through the front doors of Ronan's Rapid Repair like a tornado in designer boots. Hair wild. Mascara streaked. Sunglasses half off like she'd just walked off the set of a courtroom meltdown scene in a Netflix drama. 3 customers. 5 employees. All frozen as Maya stormed in like she was auditioning for a daytime soap. You ruined my life. She screamed, no greeting, no attempt at privacy, just a full-volume accusation like I'd just exposed her on national TV. My team froze. My regulars leaned back in their chairs. This wasn't what they came in for, but they weren't about to miss it. I stood calmly. Maya, let's take this outside. She ignored me, marched straight to the counter. You're selfish. You're jealous. You're destroying my future over some bruised ego. I tried, again gently, to steer her toward the door. She wouldn't move. Dug in her heels like a protester and launched into Act 2. You don't get it. Curtis dumped me. I'm going to lose school. You're my brother. You're supposed to help me. That's when one of my oldest customers, Mrs. Jean 74, sweet as pie but sharp as a tack, stood up slowly. Excuse me, dear, she said, arms crossed. Is this the same brother who paid for your law school? Maya flinched like she'd been slapped. That's not the point. Oh, but it is, Mrs. Jean said. You've got a lot of nerve, young lady, storming in here like this. From what I'm hearing, you took his money and tried to erase him. Where I come from, that's called biting the hand that feeds you. Maya turned bright red, boiling marinara sauce red. Before she could fire back, Mike, my lead tech, 6 feet 4 inches, quiet, allergic to drama, stepped forward. Ma'am, he said softly, I think you should leave now. Maya blinked. This shop, the plumber business you've been so ashamed to mention. It paid for my kids' braces. It put food on my table. It kept my house running during COVID, Mike added. That man right there, he pointed to me, built something you've clearly never understood, dignity. You'd think that would be her cue to leave. Nope. She took one last swing. Fine. If you want everyone to know what kind of brother you really are, I'll post it. Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. I smiled. Go ahead, I said. Just make sure you include the part where you uninvited me from Christmas, because I'm a plumber, but still expected me to keep paying your bills. Silence. The HVAC humming was suddenly the loudest sound in the room. Maya's eyes scanned the space, looking for anyone to side with her, to offer a sympathetic glance. But there was nothing. No support. No lifeline. So she spun on her heel, knocked over the business card holder, yanked the door open like it owed her money, and stormed out. No apology, no second thoughts, just anger and humiliation trailing behind her like a bad debt. Mrs. Jean patted my arm. You're doing the right thing, sweetheart. Sometimes people need to fall hard before they finally learn to look up. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty. I felt grounded, like I'd finally stopped asking for respect and started expecting it. But that dramatic shop scene? That wasn't the end. It was just the opening act in Maya's solo performance as the wronged heroine of her own twisted tale. Within a day, she was calling everyone in the family cousins I hadn't seen since middle school, distant aunts I forgot existed. She spun a whole new narrative. I was the bitter, petty sibling who cut off her tuition to sabotage her out of jealousy. Cue the group chats lighting up. Adrian sent me screenshots. People who hadn't messaged me in years suddenly had bold opinions. Aunt Kendra, yes. Her real name, called me to scold me about family obligations. She's trying to better herself, Ronan. She's going places, and you're just dragging her down because you feel insecure. I blinked. This from the same Aunt Kendra who borrowed $5,000 from me 3 years ago for emergency dental work and never paid it back. So I said, funny you bring up financial help. You still owe me $5,000. Any chance you're planning to resolve that situation? Click. Guess it wasn't just her molars that were sensitive. Then came Uncle Simon, my dad's brother and self-proclaimed financial genius. Always talking about his portfolio, passive income, and market trends, yet somehow never has cash when the check comes. He said, you should think of paying Maya's tuition as an investment. She'll be successful. She can help you later. This is about the long game. I laughed. She can't even admit I exist when she's applying for internships. Simon, you really think she's going to cut me in when the money starts rolling in? He didn't like that. Immediately pivoted. Well, maybe you could just help her finish this semester? She can pay you back later? So I gave him the perfect solution. Why don't you pay for it? You're always talking about your great returns. Here's your chance to invest in family. He mumbled something about liquidity and reallocating assets. Then, surprise, had to hop off the call. It was almost funny. Everyone had a passionate opinion on how I should spend my money. But when it came time to open their wallets, crickets. Even Adrian, who had been team expose Maya from day one, eventually texted me. Okay, NGL, it's getting kind of rough. Maybe you've made your point. I replied. It was never about making a point. It was about setting a boundary. She chose to erase me. I just stopped funding the illusion. The silence that followed that message. Chef's kiss. Then came the final act, Maya's last-ditch effort to recruit Grandma. Adrian told me she showed up uninvited at Curtis's parents' house, trying to plead her case. Naturally, she left out the part where she was embarrassed of her plumber brother. But Curtis was there. And this time, he told the truth. His dad, yes. An actual judge looked Maya straight in the eye and said, young lady, if you're trying to enter the legal profession, you should know that manipulating people with half-truths isn't a great start to your career. Savage. After that, Maya tried applying for emergency loans. Too late. Processing takes time, and she'd waited too long. She needed a cosigner, and guess whose credit was wrecked? Yep, our parents. Too busy chasing appearances to keep their finances in order. And not a single aunt, uncle, or cousin, who all had plenty to say before, stepped up to help her either. She finally had to drop out. Adrian said she's working as a paralegal now at some firm in a strip mall outside Glenmere. Tells people she's just taking a break. We all know what that means. As for me, business is booming. I hired 2 more techs, added another service truck, and finally booked that cabin trip I'd been putting off for years. No guilt, no games. So when my parents called around Thanksgiving just to check in, I already knew what they really wanted: help with the mortgage. I told them, maybe you should ask your successful lawyer daughter for help. Oh wait, you might think I'd feel guilty. That somewhere deep down I'd wonder if I'd taken it too far. But I didn't. Not once. Because here's what no one tells you. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is walk away from people who only love what you give them, not who you are. After everything, the blow up at Christmas, cutting off the tuition, the public meltdowns, the extended family guilt tour, I felt free. Not angry. Just done. Done pretending that being successful with my hands is something to be ashamed of. Done showing up for people who made me feel like showing up wasn't enough. For years, I thought the price of family was silence. You bite your tongue. You cover the bills. You absorb the jabs, all in the name of peace. But that kind of peace? It's fake. It's heavy. It rots your spine from the inside out. Real peace is this. Sitting on my back porch in Glenmere, boots off, cold beer in hand, watching the sun dip behind the garage I built with my own 2 hands. Not waiting for anyone's approval. Not checking my phone for apologies that'll never come. I still see Adrian now and then. She gives me the occasional update. Says Maya's still telling people she stepped back from law school to focus on mental clarity. Sure. Surprisingly, Curtis still texts sometimes. We've grabbed a few beers. Turns out, he's not a bad guy, just another person caught in the blast radius of someone trying to curate a perfect life at the expense of real people. My parents? Still haven't apologized. Not directly. They've danced around it. Dropped soft invitations. Suggested starting fresh. But you don't fix a hole by painting over it. The last time my mom called, she asked if we could all just put the past behind us. I said, sure, right after someone's brave enough to tell the truth about what actually happened. She didn't say a word after that. And that silence? It told me everything. So here I am. Not rich. Not poor. Not flashy. Just steady. Just proud. Just a plumber. And finally, that's enough. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.